What's your lemonade stand story?
And he was like, YouTube's going to be the next big thing, Devin. Like, you need to get on that. You need to get on it early. And I'm like,
And all of us, we all go through our own trials, our own level of stuff.
Sure hope this works out. Otherwise, this will be a huge waste of time.
I mean, what else is it all about other than just taking risks and continuing to try and grow and hopefully get better and better at making things?
And most of the billion-dollar brands you've seen were started by people that were just solving a problem for themselves.
We're telling lemonade stand stories from some of the world's top creators, makers, and go-getters.
We're rolling right now.
Hey,
We're having fun. We're rolling.
Yeah.
Hey guys, this podcast today is sponsored by Yalla, a task management and team collaboration software that we use at Lemonade Stand. We use Yalla to keep all of our team members organized, wherever they are. In fact, we used it to plan and organize this podcast. Visit yalla.team, that's YALLA.team, and try it for free. We also have a special offer for all listeners of this podcast. Use promo code LEMONADE and get a lifetime 25% off if you upgrade. What's going on, guys? This is Charan Prabhakar with the Lemonade Stand Stories podcast, and I'm here with my dear buddy, Mr. Eric Artell, who is just the delight of the world. I mean, he is so full of joy, so full of charm. We were introduced, we were kind of actually trying to figure out how we got to know each other, but it was actually through our mutual friend, Andy. Years and years ago, he was like, "Hey, Charan, I heard you're moving to LA." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "You got to look up at my buddy, Eric. He's like, does tons of commercials. He's doing all kinds of fun stuff out there." I'm like, "Sounds amazing." I had no clue who to meet in LA. So when I got out to LA, I reached out to Eric. And Eric is one of the few people that actually reached back to me. Of those people I reached out.
Is that true?
It is true. It is true. But Eric reached back to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. So I feel like a big part of my journey, especially started getting into acting. Eric was kind of there to see the beginnings of it and like gave me a lot of advice and all kinds of good stuff. And here's the interesting thing. This was probably back in 2009 because that's when I moved out to LA. This is now 2021. Eric has not aged a day. I don't understand how
there's
that
a certain
works.
Listen, there's a certain concoction that you, by the way, Charan, so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
There's a certain little concoction that you can make drink and slather all over your body.
Dude, that's amazing. Your pores are looking fantastic. It's shining well.
So Charan, are you trying to say that I am possibly responsible for the success that you've had
dude,
because I returned your text message? That
absolutely.
I just want to make sure that we're putting that out there.
It was a phone call. I'm pretty sure.
Or a phone call. It might have been a phone call. Yeah, you know, Andy, that's great. Andy's really great.
Entire success is based off of you, I feel, you know.
Can I just say, Andy, one of my favorite memories with Andy Nicholson is I shot one of my best rounds of golf ever with Andy Nicholson. So a 75. I shot a 75. For all those golfers out there, I shot 3 over for a round, and I was just being inspired by the wonders of Andy, because Andy's a really great athlete, and I just really wanted to beat him.
And his last name is Nicholson, so of course you play golf well around someone with the last name.
That's
Nicholson.
right. I've got to.
Yeah, you have to.
Well, this is great. This is great to be here. And I didn't realize that it's been that long that we've known each other, Charan. And by the way, you look the same,
dude,
except for a little bit of white that's going on up there.
Dude, here's the thing. Can I tell you the thing? I was dyeing my hair for quite some time.
Really?
And then I really was because I was like, well, you know, just keeping myself looking young or whatever. And then I started dating someone and she said, wait a minute. How long has the white hair underneath like all the black hair been a thing? And I'm like, I don't know. I've been dyeing it very quickly ever since. She's like, please don't do that. Like, let it grow. Let's see what happens. So this happened. And interestingly enough, I booked way more roles because of this hair. Like, it's the craziest thing. Like somehow I have authority now. Somehow I have authority to speak on topics that I know nothing about, like mortgages, but I can because I've got the hair to prove it, you know? So
well, I wish there was something I could do about that, because I don't have. Maybe I'll start adding white into. Maybe
if you don't, there is a paste you can put in your hair that does the exact same thing.
Or when in doubt, kids, when in doubt, just get a little bit of a bottle of white out and
just dump it on.
No,
and
don't
just
do
see what
that.
happens.
You guys
Okay,
don't do that.
100% don't do that. That's dangerous.
100%.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah. Please.
the
don't.
Lemonade podcast does not condone.
We're not
any kind of
sponsoring.
white
We're not
out.
sponsoring
We're
this
not
at all.
sponsoring any.
Not at all. No, but guys, seriously, Eric is one of the funniest people I have ever met, and it's the truth, man. It's the truth. Like, you are so funny.
You know some funny people, Charan. You know some.
I
Fun
do,
people.
and that's why I'm like, you're on the top of the list, man.
I appreciate that.
No, you are like
that's a lot of pressure for this podcast, by the way. This podcast is not meant to be a really funny podcast.
No, and yet I'm expecting laughs from you. So this is gonna be so great to see what happens. Eric, like, it's interesting because like booking commercials is a very, very challenging but like awesome thing to do as an actor in LA. Because like if you book a commercial, it kind of sets you up for like a good amount of time, because like usually those are called SAG national commercials, and you end up getting residuals and all this stuff. And I remember my time in LA, like in the course of my time in LA, I probably did like maybe 2 or 3 commercials of my 9 years there. Man, and Eric,
shocking too.
And Eric did one a month. I feel, he did one national commercial a month, and I remember him telling me this, and then he said, "Yeah, dude, I just golf and I do commercials," and I'm like, "Oh no, what is this?" But the thing is
that in that era that was true.
No,
That's
but
pretty much what I did.
Yeah.
But my goal, I'll just tell you this. My goal at the time.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about this later, so that's
we are.
fine.
But let's talk about
We'll
now.
do it in different accents. Listen, my goal at the time when I was in the acting. No, my goal at the time was I wanted to book at least one thing a month. That was like my goal. It's like I just want to book one job a month. If I can book one job a month, then things are going really well. I felt like for myself, which involved, I'm sure you've been talking a lot about acting during this podcast and stuff, but that involves a lot of auditions. I mean, during the heyday of those, and that was like the heyday of commercial auditioning, at least somewhat. I mean, you had to do like at least 50 commercial auditions, 100 to book 1 or 2. Like, it's not. There's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of 100%. Rejection, Charan.
There really is.
It's like your dating life. Just a lot of rejection.
It really is. Dude, it continues to be my dating life, as it turns out.
Wait. So you're not dating the girl who told you they go great?
No, but I have the white hair. That's the only proof I have that I did date her.
And now she can see. Now she like can see you when you're on TV.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, I told him to do that hair.
Yeah.
And she'll be just so sad. And
she is, except she was the one that ended it. So anyway, I don't think she's that sad.
I'm sorry.
Hey, you know what? It's all good. We're still great friends. It's amazing. But back to you and your incredible career. Here's the thing. I remember like booking commercials or anything like requires a lot of skill. It's not just like being able to like know how to act. It's like also like being able to win a room, being able to like be confident, being able to have this kind of presence that puts people at ease. And it's funny because there were a couple of you guys, like Kirby was one of them, you were one of them, that I was just like, man, how in the world do these guys keep booking commercials and stuff? Because everyone's always like, oh, people are looking for ethnic diversity and all this stuff. And Eric and Kirby are about as unethically diverse as possible. And I feel like I'm on the other end and I wasn't booking anything. And these guys are just killing it. I'm like, what is happening? But then I got to see you perform in your comedy troupe. I forgot what it was called, but it was at Santa Clarita.
Society.
Society. That's right.
Yeah. And
I just remember just seeing incredible genius at work. Like you, Lincoln, Kirby, I forgot who else was performing and playing. Sometimes Adam would play. Right.
Yeah.
I remember just seeing just incredible wit and the ability to like be able to like really quickly like create something. And one of the games that you always played that I loved was when you were like, it was like this game where like the audience would select what the problem or the scenario or whatever it is. And then Kirby and whoever else would act it out using voices that didn't make any sense. right?
Oh yes, gibberish.
Gibberish.
Was it an opera? Was it did we
don't-
do it to music or to not music?
Not to music, but you
Okay.
did it, and you'd come in and you'd like just be speaking gibberish with them, and you'd completely understand the scenario. And I was like, that requires.
And I would have to guess like
have to
what they
guess
were trying to do.
what they
So
were
it's
trying to
almost
do.
like it's like a game of charades, but you do it in gibberish.
Yeah.
Yes, we called that mystery things, or Comedy Sports calls it 5 things. I love that game.
Yeah.
And I go out in the hall, and then I have to come back in and guess what the audience is given. And inevitably, every single time, there's people who ask me after the show, and they're like, you knew what they were doing, right?
Yeah.
Like you knew it, and I never know. And I don't cheat. Come on,
Yeah.
guys, I'm not a cheater.
Yeah, guys. That's one thing about
No, I'm
Eric.
not a
He's
cheater.
a lot of things, but he's not a cheater. That's
I'm
for
not a
sure.
cheater.
No,
I do
ever.
not subscribe to the Jim Rome theory of if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Because
Yes.
don't cheat.
Yeah, don't cheat. You
Don't
know?
cheat. Well, thank you, Sharon. That is, this is funny. You should say this because I can probably attribute a lot of my entertainment career success to improvisation.
Mm.
So
Love that.
improvisation is an amazing thing that you teach yourself, or that you train in, that made me more confident. It trains your brain to think in different ways. It makes you so much better actor, and also just a better person, and a better collaborator, and a better teamwork, and a better leader, and a blah, 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 blah. But I would say that if I was not introduced to improv, which, by the way, speaking of Kirby and Lincoln, I was introduced to improv by Lincoln when he had a group called the Skinny Lincolns in Salt Lake many, many years ago. And Kirby and I started about the same time. He's actually started a little bit right after me in that improv realm. And then I moved to LA, and then I studied it at the Groundlings, etc. But then I also started teaching it, and now Lincoln and I teach it. But I would dare say that one of the biggest credits to my acting success has been improv training.
Dude, you're a genius at it, and you hit on something that I actually want to talk about in just a little bit, but how improv not only helps you with acting, but with life itself.
Yes,
because I think
so.
It's a very, very interesting thing, because the whole idea of improv is like there's like a kind of a ground rule, right? Which is like the yes and principle, right? Where someone presents something to you, you accept it as truth, and you add upon it. Yep. And the moment you negate it, you're like, nope, that's not it. The scene dies. It's over. But I actually kind of feel like that is the success for life. You know, when life gives you something, you're like, you have to accept it. Be like, okay, this is what it is, and I'm going to add upon this. You know,
think about this. Think about the name of this podcast.
Yes.
Well, I mean, what is that age-old phrase? When life gives you lemons,
you got to make lemonade.
Make lemonade. I mean, that is a perfect example of yes. And I'm going to give you let me just tell a quick story.
Please.
I've got a buddy. His name's Johnny, and he's been an actor for a long time. In fact, he was the Geico motorcycle guy with the big handlebar mustache. I don't know if you ever saw that campaign. Really funny guy, stand-up guy. But his wife also was in acting, and I went to their wedding, and in their marriage vows, they said, "I will always yes and you." in the wedding itself, in their marriage vows. And yes and, it's so true, Charan. Yes and is a principle that we teach so often, that improv teaches so often. It's just one principle. I mean, it's one thing that you learn in improv. By the way, just a little shameless plug.
Please.
We do Improv Wizards, improvwizards.com. It's a online improv learning system that Lincoln and I developed. It's a class you can take from the comfort of your own home.
Nice.
Go to improvwizards.com. There are free videos, free training videos. If you'd like to also enroll, happy to have you. Just let us know, send us a message. But it's one of the reasons why Lincoln and I developed this, to help people learn it so that they didn't have to have a school nearby where they could go.
No.
And now, with all that's going on in the world,
yes,
et cetera, online learning is so much more prevalent and important. But yes, and of course is a linchpin in improv training. And you're right, it is changing your mindset and accepting what's happening and building upon it and using it for the best. I was just talking with I literally was just talking with a gentleman by the name of Jose, and he has we're going to be collaborating on some stuff, and he has a very severe stutter, which he has he works through and stuff, and but we talked about this principle. He and I just talked about this principle because he was like, I have a stutter. Yes, I have a stutter, and now I will do this. As opposed to, I have a stutter, I wish I didn't. Instead, I have a stutter, and now I'm going to create something out of that. It's such a transformative principle in life if you can learn to think that way, and you can train yourself to think that way. Like, you can train yourself to think that way, and that's it's a positive attitude. It's just there's a lot of motivational stuff.
Well,
I can talk for hours about this,
dude. Well, I know you can, and we may. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Here's the thing that's interesting. I found that the people that can yes and are the ones that like coped well during the pandemic.
Ooh.
Because a lot of people rejected everything. They were like, wait, what? The world is shutting down. Wait, what? Like, this happens and that happened. And so many people felt isolated and depressed and lonely and sad. But the ones that I felt could cope through it and could like find joy in the circumstances were the ones that accepted it and saying, okay, this is going to be our reality. It's not a fun reality, but it is our reality. And we're going to accept it, and we're going to figure out a way to find our new path in life, our new way of creativity. Entrepreneurs do this all the time when they have to pivot, when they're saying, okay, like this didn't happen, so we got to change something else. Now, I know you and Lincoln and Kirby, you guys have created all kinds of different like video series and fun series and things like that may not have taken off. They may have been really funny, but they just didn't take off. And so instead of stopping, you kept going. You're like, okay, cool. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to try something new,
And yes.
How did you do it? Like, how did you do it and like keep going? Cause like sometimes people are like, dude, forget this. This is terrible.
It's so true. I still create stuff and I put it out there and it'll still not do well. I've had a lot of fun opportunities in my life, and I'm so grateful for it. But one of the things that I've been able to do is be a content creator. And so I do a lot of TikTok videos. I'm on TikTok. I have over 4 million followers on TikTok, which is insane. Boggles my mind.
It
boggles my mind.
Well, it amazes me because it's like, I didn't even know you did TikTok. You go, yeah, dude, I got 4 million followers. I'm like, what? It's crazy.
And for the record, I did not say that in a braggadocious way when I talked to you.
I know.
But yeah, because it boggles my mind. But still, I will post videos I'll still post videos that just nobody likes or watches or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's this constant thing that you're talking about of you put stuff out there. If it doesn't work, you just pivot, you adapt, you look to improve, etc. So it's a lifelong journey, right? And as actors, it's a lifelong journey because people don't come knocking down your door. Oh, it's offering you things. You still have to audition, or you still have to and face rejection. It's the same type of stuff. You're always trying to work on something and trying to find what is going to work in life. And I think that's the way kind of life is for everybody, whether it's your profession, relationships, like Jeffrey R. Holland, I think, said the first time I heard him say it, where he said, where his daughter, I think it was, said, I've on her wedding day, and said, I'm at the end of all my troubles, And then his reply was, yeah, but which end?
That's so good.
Right?
It's so
because that idea of, even in relationships, you get married, it's not, you always have to be working on things. There are always going to be things that don't go well, and then you work on things to make things go well. So I think it's really profound what you're talking about this idea of making you try to adapt, and you just keep going forward. You accept it. You yes and those problems.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is, I find that if you can find relationship with yourself or with a higher power, with God, whoever you want it to be for you, and find that you have joy just because of that relationship, you tend to keep going no matter what, because you're not worried about the outcome as much. You already have the joy, and so you create for the joy of creating. And I feel like that's what you do a lot of times with your content creation, is like you're constantly creating, and if something doesn't go, you're like, okay, that didn't go, let me try something else, let me try something else. And you'll keep going and going because you just love creating. You're a content creator. That's what you do. And it's not like you're only a content creator if people accept your content, because more than likely people reject your content. Like they have rejected my content. And yet, you say like, oh, I mean, some go, some don't, but yet you have over 4 million followers on TikTok. So that already shows, hey, there is a fan base. There is a group of people, a big group of people that like what you're putting out, And it's interesting because I randomly see you popping up on the internet with like the craziest people. Like there was this one video I saw with LeBron James, and you're like standing next to him doing like some funny like sketch thing with him, which was so funny. And then like I saw another thing that you were doing with oh my gosh, Zachary Levi. He was like doing some video, and then he was mentioning you, and I'm like, how in the world has Eric gotten around? Well, the thing is like your personality and your friendliness, I feel, is like your superpower, and it allows you to put other people at ease, to put and to make people be like, hey, you know what, I love working with Eric. But what would you say has been like your key to your success as an actor?
Man, well, thank you, by the way, and right back at you, Charan.
Come on.
I like I said, I have had some really fun opportunities to work with a lot of different people and meet a lot of different people and make friendships with a lot of different people, and I appreciate what you said, because I've always tried at least to be a friend first, and regard those relationships more importantly than whatever you can get out of those relationships. And maybe, sometimes to a career detriment. I mean, I know people who, when they immediately meet somebody and they immediately try to use that relationship for things. And I mean, sure, that is how you can build up together and collaborate, etc. And that is important.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can tell when somebody is trying to use you just for certain things, as opposed to wanting to have a legitimate relationship and care about you as a person. So that's just a thought that just came into my mind when you're talking about that. But I did want to talk about this idea of, because I was just talking this week to a group of other people about this in Clubhouse, actually. And I don't know if anyone's on Clubhouse, but if you're on Clubhouse, hey, come say hi. And it was this idea that I've known, and I'm sure you know as well, people who are what we would consider almost at like the pinnacle of their success, particularly actors who might be at the pinnacle of their success, where they're on billboards, and you would just think, man, if I could reach that level, problems solved, right?
Of course.
And yet, knowing them personally, you see how unfulfilling that is.
Yeah.
It does not fulfill. And you start to realize how important priorities are and what your priorities are and what your value system is. And if you are valuing career success above all else, that is a slippery slope that leads to disaster for you personally, because you can there is always a new rung of the ladder to go on. I mean, nobody has reached a pinnacle so high that they don't want something else.
Yeah.
And so it's a very difficult thing to put yourself through. Whereas if you have a different value system, so I personally, I'm a very spiritual person. I have a strong faith in God, and that relationship is extremely important to me. And that's where I put my that's one of the things that I put my value in. And that's what's important, is having that relationship and being a good person. And that is what I try to focus on: being a good husband, being a good father. My family is such a huge priority for me. Granted, career success is important for your family, so you can provide for your family. And I'm so grateful to how that is a possibility for me. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I don't want to fail at being a good husband, father, and child of God. That's what I don't want to fail at. If I have hiccups and failures in career, fine.
Yeah.
Because that I can overcome those, but that's not where I put my value, my personal value. And so I think that's been one of the things that has helped me a lot. I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt when I put something out there and like people aren't liking it or people aren't sharing it. Like, yeah, that hurts, right?
Yeah.
Because it's part of your creation. I don't know. Have you, Charan, you've done stand-up, yeah?
I haven't done stand-up, man. I really haven't. Have you done it? Have you done stand-up?
Yes, I have. It's such a thrilling experience, but it is one of the most gut-wrenching experiences in the world, because you're getting up on that stage, and when you do improv, I can do improv without feeling nervous, like whatever. It's just so fun to do, because people, if they expect the improv and they know that you're maybe going to not come up. But when somebody's watching you do stand-up, they're just like, make me laugh.
Yeah.
Give me what you think is going to make me laugh, and we will see if it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And that's like,
dude,
that is
terrifying.
So gut-wrenching. It's terrifying. And the judgment that is then placed on you, it's terrifying. And I can't even remember where I was going with this, but I think it's this idea of, like, I've known stand-up comics, and when they put all of their eggs in that basket in terms of self-worth and value, that's why drug abuse is rampant, etc. So I honestly can't remember where I was going with this. Can we roll back the tape? But it's this idea of it's this idea of
where does fulfillment come from?
Yes, where is your fulfillment coming? Because if you go and do stand-up and you fail on stage and it's a total snooze fest and no one laughs, how do you bounce back from that? If that is where you're putting your self-value and your self-worth.
Dude, I think the biggest thing, like the takeaway I'm getting from all of this is, like, honestly, you have to identify what is giving you your sense of joy, your sense of fulfillment, your sense of purpose, your sense of hope, your sense of all the good things, right?
Yeah.
Because if it is placed upon me booking a part, or if it's placed upon me working with such and such actor, it just never works, man. It just does not work. But what I have noticed is when I put my fulfillment and everything and my relationship on God and like those things that matter most to me, the parts just come. I don't know how, but they just show up. And I found like my success as an actor has come as a result of that. Because then I go to the auditions already fulfilled. So I'm not going there with this need of like, I've got to book this part. It's just more of a, hey, this is so exciting. I get to have this opportunity and present my version of this character to you. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, no worries. And then I go and I feel free. And that sense of feeling free, that sense of feeling relaxed, I think that's what books me the roles. So it's like this byproduct. I feel like it's this byproduct of you feeling comfortable and good right now.
Yes.
I think,
yes.
I think it's so
Because
important.
in the acting realm too,
Yeah.
the casting director, the directors, whoever's watching that audition, they can sense that.
Oh yeah.
They can sense the neediness of the actor. They can sense when somebody comes in and comfortable and is confident and, like you were saying, has that attitude, because then they want to work with that person too, because they're going to be hiring them to work with them. So not only do they want to make sure the person can deliver the product, but they want to be able to feel comfortable working with that person, which is a big important business principle too, right? It's like this idea of people don't buy. A lot of people often don't buy the product that you're selling. I mean, they do, obviously, but a lot of times they're buying you.
100%.
And they won't even consider the product if they don't like the person who is selling the product, so to speak.
That is such a true principle of life, man. And what also is interesting is I've had auditions where I'm like, I nailed it. Like I felt I nailed it. I get nothing.
Yes.
I get nothing. And then there are times when I'm like, oh, that was a total bomb. I don't know what I'm doing. And I end up booking those.
Yes.
Right? So
yes. Oh, I've got some great stories about that. Yes.
Oh, dude, do you have any like in particular that you can share?
Sure. I think it's sure. Let's see. Plenty of times I've gone in there and walked out of the room and thought, I'm not getting that. I'm not getting that.
Yeah.
And I've gotten it. So one that comes into mind, okay, this was a long time ago, but it was a commercial audition. And I went in there and it was a Burger King audition.
Yeah.
And I had to cluck like a chicken.
This is perfect. I love this already.
So I had to, the scenario was me and my buddy are at a fortune teller, a gypsy fortune teller lady who has a crystal ball. And we're looking in the crystal ball and I start to turn into a chicken. Like I start clucking like that sort of thing. And so I went into this callback and it was this older gentleman, British. If he's listening to this, I don't know if you remember this. He might be listening to the podcast at some point, but he like sitting there and I would do it. And he'd be like, no, do it more, can you do it more like you're a real chicken? And then I, do it like, no, give me some more, like do it more, cluck more and stuff. Like, do more head movement. No, it's too much. It's too much. And I'm sitting here trying to cluck like a chicken and being directed. And then it was finally like, all right, thank you. And it's just like, that's how it just unceremoniously ends the audition, the callback.
Yeah.
And I walk out and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
There's no chance. And then I booked it. And then I booked the commercial. And it turned out it has a sad ending, actually, to be perfectly honest, because it turned out to be Burger King was launching their chicken Whopper, totally new product.
Wow.
And this is one of the commercials to launch the chicken Whopper. And so it's like, this thing is going to run.
Yeah. Like
crazy, which means, for those who don't know, like the more your commercial runs as a national network commercial, the more you get paid. So, and you can make back in those days, you can make a substantial amount of money.
Yes.
If a commercial ran a lot. So I thought, this is going to be great. They're going to play this thing into the ground because it's launching this new product. Sure enough, the commercial comes out and there I am clucking like a chicken into a crystal ball.
Yeah.
And, it played for like a week and then they pulled it.
No.
Because Burger King changed their ad agency. And when they changed their ad agency, the ad agencies essentially the ones that are creating the commercials.
Sure.
And so they scrapped all the promotional commercials they were doing. And they had this other brilliant idea, having Adam Carolla be the voice of a vending machine. And that was the series of commercials that they created and they started airing. So,
oh man.
So it became anyway. But yes, that was one of those that I walked out thinking, no, there's no chance.
There's no chance.
This guy hated me.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, I can't even tell you how many auditions were like that where I bombed like so hard, left like the Disney lot once for this audition, just feeling like I should never be an actor in LA. I should not be allowed to come on a set because like what I just did was just a complete annihilation of any lines ever. And the very next day, my agent's like, dude, you gotta go to the table read. You booked the thing. And I'm like, how? Why would that? It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. And then of course there are the flip sides too that happen.
Yes.
For actors where you walk out and you're like, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Like you start thinking in your mind,
Yeah.
here's what I'm gonna buy with, or I'm gonna be able to cover my rent for X amount of whatever. Yeah. Man, I don't know how honest or how much detail we want to go into with this.
We got to do
this. I was auditioning for a new show.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a new Nickelodeon show.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't say what show it is. I was gonna for a new Nickelodeon show. Go to the audition, go to the callback, go to the network read, and I get into the elevator for this show. Or for this network, and like the room fills up, the elevator fills up with these guys. We were all going to the same room. Turns out they were like the writers of the pilot of the new show, and some producers, and they're all telling me in this elevator, "Oh, we love your audition. You're so great. This is so great. You're so perfect for this role." Blah 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 blah. Then I go into this room. And there are literally probably 15 people all in a line. And I do it and they're laughing and they're like, it went better than almost any audition I've ever gone. And you can see where this is going, obviously.
Yeah.
And I walk out and I just think, this is amazing. I think I just booked a series regular for a new
Nickelodeon show.
Oh, sorry. No, it was Disney. I'm sorry. It was
Disney
for a new. Oh, maybe I shouldn't even say one of those two.
Yes.
But for a new show that is going to this is like a career maker. That's when you walk out of some of these auditions, you think this could be a career maker, quote unquote. Yeah. And so the feedback that I would get is, casting director, perfect for it.
Yeah.
Producers. Writers, you're perfect for it. Showrunners, you're perfect for it. This is perfect for it. One executive at this company that will be unnamed, even though we named it. One executive who really didn't have very much to do with the show, but it was just an executive, right?
Yeah.
With their reaction was like, nah, I don't see it. One out of a whole room of, and then also people would be, and so I didn't get the role. And then as it was almost like a sort of a nice thing. I mean, it felt a little bit better. They rewrote the role and they turned the role into a kid as opposed to an adult. So they actually went back to the drawing board and rewrote the entire role. And then it wound up being a very long running successful show. And so it was a little sad. I actually wound up being on the show. I guested on the show. So that was kind of cool a long time later. But yeah, it was just this one person who didn't really have very much to do with it, allegedly. And it wasn't like, I don't like him, he's terrible. It was more like, I don't know, I don't get it, sort of thing. So those curveballs come at you. And like we were just saying before, if that is what you're putting your value on, if you don't have, either a faith system or, I mean, you and I are both, we both have a lot of faith in God, etc. But if you don't have something else which gives you your self-worth and your value that transcends whatever's going on here on earth that you're doing, it's devastating. It's devastating. It's devastating. And it is devastating regardless, but
it's devastating regardless. Here's the thing. I mean, I'm telling you, like, I love being an actor, not because I get to act. I mean, I do. Of course I love it because I'm acting, but also because of the life lessons it teaches me about how do you face rejection? How do you face those times when you're constantly feeling like nothing is going to ever succeed? Because that's what it is a lot of times. I mean, for every success that you have so many failures come through. And then the flip side is those that get success early and they taste it like this is what it's always going to be. And then they get rejected over and over and over. It's like, it's this constant barrage of things that are kind of happening to us. And that's what changes us and helps us realize, okay, this world that we're facing right now is so full of uncertainty. And anytime you think like, oh yeah, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen, like your life is going to actually feel kind of unfulfilled. And I was actually kind of joking around with, I belong to like a group of people that are like mid-single, but they're not married or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I was joking with them. And I said, guys, I love that we're here. We're all here. Because just being here lets us know things did not go according to plan. And they were like dying laughing in the
and we're still alive, and we're
here though.
Still joking, and we're here, you guys.
We're here,
friends.
guys. We're friends.
We never would have been friends. You're like, listen, we never would have been friends.
We would
if
never.
I'd gotten
friends.
married when I was younger. So I'm so glad I didn't get married. I'm so glad.
Yeah, the tears are just flowing off your face. But dude, it was an interesting thing, because as I was talking to him, I said, listen, if you live life by a checklist or by a set of expectations, whatever those expectations are, whatever that checklist is, whatever that narrative is, when that narrative doesn't happen, when that checklist doesn't happen, I say when because more often than not, those checklists and those narratives don't happen, you feel completely unsatisfied with life. You feel very devastated, and you feel like it's just like you turn bitter. And I've talked to a lot of people that have turned bitter, and it's just like they kind of give up on life. And I'm like, I don't think our view of life was accurate to begin with. There was somewhere down the line this narrative that was painted in our head, a fantasy that this is how life was going to be if certain things were done all the time. But in reality, I think it's more about like what we're talking about, like that relationship, that sense of fulfillment is what gives you hope. So I don't know. I love that. Now, I want to shift topics a little bit because, you're a very hopeful guy. You're always creating awesome content. And recently you've been chatting with me that you are now the host of a new show called Prank Academy.
Yes.
So tell me about Prank Academy. Like, how did this become a thing, and how is this even, like, I don't know. Like, it's just amazing. I was so stoked about it.
Well, this is great. I'm very excited about the show. It's called Prank Academy. It is with AFV, America's Funniest Videos. So America's Funniest Videos has been around for over 30 years.
So you were, in a sense, replacing Bob Saget is what's happening.
No. Alfonso Ribeiro replaced Bob.
Okay, fine.
No, I am not. I mean, although listen, let's put it out there. Once Alfonso decides to hang up his hosting duties on AFV, I am happy to try to fill those shoes. But so AFV has been around for a long time, America's Funniest Videos, and they've been receiving submissions from people for over 30 years. So they have this enormous vault of videos that they love to show and showcase. And they can only show so many during their show, during their main show. So Prank Academy is a show that we helped create. I'm also a creative producer on it to help highlight prank videos that AFV has in their vault. Now, of course, it's AFV, so we keep it to good-natured pranks. Pranks can get a little mean-spirited sometimes. So we keep it to good-natured pranks. And there are a bunch of different kinds of pranks: scare pranks, setup pranks, mistaken identity pranks, insect prank, food pranks. There's so many different kinds of pranks that you can do. And so this show, Prank Academy, I'm the host of the show, and we treat it as if the viewers are students at the Prank Academy. So I get to play different characters, sketch comedy characters that are visiting professors to talk about different aspects of pranks, the physics of pranks, or relationship pranks and stuff like that. So I get to play a lot of really fun characters, and that's where a lot of the improv stuff that I've done in the past really I get to play around with a lot. But then we also, in the show, we show a lot of prank videos in the show. And then we also have celebrities who do a cameo in every episode, and they do a fun segment where they are apologizing on behalf of someone else in a prank video. So for instance, John Heder, a lot of people know him from Napoleon Dynamite, Blades of Glory, etc. He is in this segment for one of our episodes where there's this prank video of a dad who wakes up his kids wearing a mask and a chainsaw, and these kids absolutely freak out.
Oh my gosh.
They,
Yeah,
like,
of
they're
course.
screaming. And so John watches this video and then says, you know, I'm going to apologize on behalf of this dad. And then he talks as if he's the dad, like, sons,
Yeah.
I'm sorry I caused your bedwetting episodes until you were in your teens, whatever. Just a fun way of doing it. And we have like Rizwan. I don't know if you, Rizwan from Schitt's Creek, Chris Kattan from Saturday Night Live. We have all these fun celebrities who do these cameos. And then we also, every episode, we have big content creators or influencers who are out in the field doing pranks for us, and we give them some prank challenges. So it's a really fun mixture of different things. It's kind of like AFV meets Saturday Night Live meets The Soup meets The Daily Show, because we have correspondents out there. So it's a really fun show that we're doing. And it's on Pluto TV. People can check it out on Pluto TV. AFE has their own channel on Pluto TV, channel 494 on Pluto TV, which Pluto TV is a streaming service that's free for anyone to go tune into. And they're playing it all the time right now. So it's really fun. And it came about because I've done a lot of stuff with AFE.
Okay.
I first started doing some live streams with them back when I was doing a lot of live streaming on which is now TikTok, but before it was called Musical.ly, and they had a live stream platform called Lively. So I was very involved in that, and I did some live streams for them there. And then they had me do a couple of different projects with them that were a couple of series where I was a host of a couple of different things. And then this project came up, and we've loved collaborating. And so it's just a total blessing. I absolutely love doing it. Yeah. And it's really fun, and they're excited about it as well.
Well, you know, it's so interesting because I find, because I've been known to pull pranks for sure.
I've seen them.
You know, you've
and
seen
they're great.
them, and they're
I've
fun.
seen, yes, and they're great.
Yeah.
You're fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man. And the thing is like, when they're good natured, when they're not mean spirited, when they're good natured, I find that it helps break people out of their mold of life. It like helps them get out of their routine of like, oh, this is how life is always going to be. And so I try to like pull like really positive pranks on people, just because it really uplifts their spirits. Like, this wasn't even a prank. This was like, I went and bought 3 bananas and a roll of duct tape. It was for some like shoot I was doing. For whatever reason, when I was on the conveyor, when I was putting it on the conveyor belt, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to put these bananas in the shape of a triangle and put the duct tape in the middle, like some kind of weird Star Trek symbol. I'm just going to put this like this, and I'm just going to let it go up and let the cashier see it. And so I put it like that, and I let it go up, and the cashier saw it. And I don't know what happened, but when he saw it, it like hit his funny bone, and he just died laughing. He was just cracking up. He's like, dude, what is this? And you know, I'm like, dude, I don't know. I had to make it happen. And so now I kind of created like a fun game called Grocery Shapes, where you have all these groceries, and on the conveyor belt, you have to make it into a shape before it gets to like the cashier, and just see like you know what I'm saying?
Jen, this is so great. How have you not made this into like a TikTok series yet?
Well, I don't know. I just don't. This is, I need you to hire me is what I'm trying to say, to do your like your pranks.
Yes,
because like,
yes.
But I love doing stuff like that all the time, because it's not ever mean spirited. It's just like it's a fun, fulfilling joke,
unexpected.
Right? Yes.
And you're right. It breaks somebody's routine up, but in a fun, unexpected and pleasurable way. Right. I had
go ahead. You go.
No, go ahead. You just made me think of an experience I had in my life, but you go ahead.
I'll share one. Then I want to hear yours. A friend of mine called me up and said, "Hey, Charan, my boss has been really stressed out, and I just think you need to come and prank him." Like, that was the request. And already I'm like, this is going to be a fantastic day. This is going to be a good day. I'm so excited. And like, it was for like one of those big MLM companies, like those, and they're like multi-billion-dollar companies. He's the CEO.
NWM now they're called, network marketing. Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. So it was for one of those big companies. I don't want to name which one. And he was like the president, the CEO. So anyway, I go in my full Indian attire, and this girl who calls me and says, "Hey, listen, before your lunch, this guy, he came straight from India, and he just loves our product so much. He just loves what it's done for him, and he just wants to meet you." And this guy's just like kind of surprised. He's like, "Wait, what? Like, you just let him come to the office, you know?" She's like, "Just be nice to him. Like, he's just so tender." And so of course, like, this guy like has no idea like what to make of me. And I'm like thick Indian accent, all this stuff. And I said, "Listen, I know you just started this building and you're starting to do business in this building. So I want to say a special blessing on this building, if that's okay." And he's like, "Sure." So then he's like, "What do I need to do?" He's like, he's like, "Can I bring some people?" I'm like, "Please bring whomever you like." And then like I proceeded to hold hands with him and made up an Indian prayer that does not even exist. Like, there's just no words in the English Indian
Gibberish.
language.
It was just gibberish,
Complete
basically.
gibberish. But I made him repeat the words after me.
Oh, no.
I made him repeat it after me, and then finally he's like, "Well, okay, thank you so much. Like, what did I say?" And I said, "Well, I bless you with a sense of humor and or like, no, joy and peace and a sense of humor when you realize that this was all a joke." And he's like, "Wait, what?" And then I went in an American accent. I'm like, "Dude, I'm just messing. Like, my friend just asked me to come in and play a joke on you." And at that moment, like, the tension that he had just completely released, and he was laughing and laughing so hard. He's like, "Oh my gosh." He's like, "Dude, I can't believe how good you got me. Like, that was so good." And then he's like, "Wait, can you stick around and get the other execs?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I ended up punking like their CMO.
Oh, nice.
CFO.
While he was watching.
He was participating. He was participating.
Man, and just loving it. He was loving it.
And then I heard, like, after I left, like, they're like, "Please don't ever, like, please always come back. You're always welcome here." And my friend who invited me, she's like, they would not stop talking about it. They said like that was the highlight of their day. And it was so interesting to me to realize, like, people walk around with so much tension and so much pain in their life, and like
weight on their shoulders,
weight that they didn't even know that they had, but they do.
Right.
And to give them the gift of laughter, of joy in those moments, to like just let that self release, like that, I think is a godly gift, honestly. So anyway, I love the fact that you're a part of the show. You're creating the show, and you're helping pull pranks. Because the thing is like you're doing it again in a very wholesome, fun, pure natured kind of way.
Yeah.
But still giving people that sense of hope instead of like being cynical. Which
right. Yes, exactly. And it's like we said, it's AFE, so it's good for the whole family. My kids, it's one of their favorite things ever to watch now, and so it's really fun to do. I loved what you said. So go check it out, Pluto TV. Yeah, go check it out, channel 494, AFE TV. What you said about the gift of laughter, I'm reminded of an experience that I had. This was somewhat of a life-changing experience, if you will, because I don't know if you know this, Charan, but I went to school and got an economics degree.
I did not know that. That's crazy. That's
so I went to BYU, got an economics degree.
About that, Yeah.
But while I was toiling away in that social science of economics
with Dr. Curl, probably.
Yep. I had when I was little, I loved acting, loved it, and then at some point, as I got into later teens, I kind of thought that's not something that I can really appropriately try to do. And so when I got to college, I chose economics because it was something that I have an aptitude in certain things, and I like the theory, and I felt, I'd fasted and prayed about what should I major in, and felt really good about econ, but I still love doing performance stuff. And so, there was a board there at school called the Mass Club board that I don't even know if it still exists or not. That was in the man, I can't remember the name of the building, but there's a little notice about coming. They needed someone, a small little community theater, the Valley Center Playhouse in Linden, Utah. They needed someone to come fill in for a weekend for something in a play. And you needed to be able to do a British accent, a Cockney British accent. So I spent a few years when I was growing up, my family, we lived in England a couple of different times. And
wow. Okay.
when we came back, one of the times, so my family says, I would like pronounce some things in a natural British accent sometimes when I was little. So British accents have always been really fun for me to do. So I thought this would be so fun. I haven't done a play in like years. Let me go do it. So I went and I auditioned for it, and they had me do it. I don't even know if anyone else ever even actually auditioned for the role. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So we did it and it was fun. And I was like, this would be so fun just on my free time to do some shows in this little theater. So I'm going to audition for another show. So I auditioned for another show. It was a show called The Cruise of Love. It was almost like a extremely squeaky clean PG version of The Love Boat. And it was an original show written by this elderly couple that ran this theater, who I think have now passed on. And it had original music pieces to it, original songs. It was all of this original show. Yeah. And I played sort of the happy-go-lucky employees on this cruise ship. And it was in the theater in the Round, but it was like a double wide trailer turned into a stage. So it was just this flat surface and then these little couple of rows of theater seats on every side.
I think I performed in this space before.
You may have.
I may have. Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
So I'm sorry, this story's taking a little too long, but I love this. It just makes me remember this. It was such a clear moment for me. I was doing my performance, this show, and just having fun doing it. And there was this couple that was sitting in the front row. So, which meant that I would I'd stand there. If I just reached down, I would be touching them.
Sure.
Sitting right there, laughing hysterically, just cracking up at stuff that I was doing. And it felt so great, not because of like, look at me, but it felt so great knowing that I was helping them experience this joy of laughter and hopefully changing their night. And at the end of the show, we would all stand there. And as people walked out, we would say hi, and they come and they shake my hand. They're just laughing while they're shaking my hand. For whatever reason, I touched their funny bone. And it was so amazing to know that I had positively affected their lives that way. And they might've gone back home and talked about it later. Maybe who knows? But this just experience of affecting someone's life in such a positive way just took hold of me. And then I had some other experiences in my life which led me to not pursue jobs in the economics world and not go be an investment banker, etc., but instead be an actor. But that certainly was one of my defining experiences. But it was that just joy of bringing joy into people's lives. There's a joy in bringing joy into people's lives. And I think it's another reason why I love doing improv. I love doing that sort of stuff, which I know you love as well.
Absolutely. I mean, here's the thing, like, and we've touched on so many of your joys already, which is just like, but I like what you just barely said, that there's an insane amount of joy in bringing joy in somebody else's life.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times we talk about what brings us joy, and it's like, well, family, God, all those things. But the idea of like seeing somebody else truly happy, and like you were able to be a part of that happiness, that's incredible. That's life-changing. And that's really why I like to do what I like to do, because I mean, truthfully, like, I don't find satisfaction in acting if it's just for myself. I just don't. But like, if it's like, if I'm doing it with the intention of like, hopefully I can serve other people, and hopefully I can use this as a way to help other people have a lighter load in life and feel a little bit more hopeful and feel like, hey, you know what? Life is worth living. And there is some positivity in there. Then I think it's awesome. And I don't know, I get like really excited about it.
And I think it's important to say that this does not only apply to acting, and to performance and to performances. This is in my opinion, it is such an important life principle. So if you're in high school or in grade school or whatever, if you're just going to school and giving someone a compliment and seeing the joy that comes into their lives, you will experience joy. You providing joy to other people will help lift up your spirits and help lift the weight that you feel too. In the workplace, bringing joy into people's lives in the workplace, friendships. Everybody who's listening to this or watching this has friends, or people in their lives that are important in their life, even if it's just family members. You can bring joy into their lives, and you will experience joy when you bring joy into their lives. There's not much more that's magic. There's not much more magical thing in life than that. That is truly a magical thing, and it definitely transcends the performance arena. I mean, performance, it's so easy to apply it, but man, anybody can help bring joy into someone else's life, and
I think it's so great. Like, well, it's so interesting because it's like, sometimes I go to like fast food restaurants and I see like these, sometimes there's these workers that are like just sweeping the floors and everything like that. And just, they have so much joy in what they're doing, even if it's so simple, that they bring joy to other people. Like, and I've been a witness to that, where like they're just very simple. They're just so grateful for their job. They're just so grateful that they have this chance to like serve in their capacity. And man, the world is better because they exist, you know?
And sometimes, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go.
I was just gonna, sometimes it's as simple as a smile.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's as simple as a smile. And I'm reminded of an experience where I was shopping, and I had my little toddler baby daughter. I was in the grocery shopping, and there was somebody who was sweeping the floor. This made me think of this. Somebody was like sweeping the floor, and my little girl just looked at him and just this huge smile and just said, hi. And that was one of the few words she knew at the time.
Yeah.
And he just looked at her, and his whole face just turned into this bright beam of joy. And he looks at me, and she's like, and he goes, she said hi to me. She said, yep, she did. She was a friendly little one.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just that, it is that. And this goes back to what you're talking about with, and I appreciate again the words that you said about how I try to be friends with people that I associate with. And it's a lot of that is just about smiling with them, just trying to have a positive outlook on life. And having that smile that can help, that really can help.
It's so interesting how, like you said, like a simple smile, a simple kind gesture, like a smile can lift somebody up, just to be like, hey, like it's going to be okay, And I don't know, like, it's so interesting as I've seen some of the people, I've had lunch with several people last year that were telling me they were going through some pretty hard depression because of all of the stuff that was going on in the world and everything like that. And as we were sitting and just chatting, I realized, like, just like that moment was sacred. Just like hanging out with them, having lunch with them, it was sacred. And we were able to like just be like, hey, you know what? Like, yeah, it is tough, but that's why we have each other, and that's why we can like joke around and talk about funny memories that we experienced, or like funny things that you've done, funny things that I may have done. And at the end of the day, it transcends all of this acting, all of this stuff. It's all about like that human connection of having joy. So I don't know. Again, we can talk about this stuff for hours. It's amazing.
That's right.
Really
That's right.
is.
And it's not like that.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's not like that solves problems, right?
No.
Like, I mean, if somebody, for instance, if somebody has a huge splinter in their forearm that's sticking out and it's bleeding or whatever, right? And they're feeling this little bit of terrible pain, having somebody come and smile and sit with them for a minute, it doesn't magically heal that wound.
No.
But it certainly can help. It certainly helps.
it can certainly soothe, you know.
Yeah,
and
it can soothe.
if we're meant to soothe others, then that's
Man,
what we
Charan,
should do.
if
Gosh,
anything,
dang
you
it.
are a balm of soothing ointment.
Oh man, I will be a
You
soothing
are a
ointment to
balm
you
of
anytime.
Gilead, my friend.
Oh, dude. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you so much. We got to wrap things up a little bit, but I guess the last question I'd ask you is actually 2 questions, real quick.
Okay, lay 'em on me.
What is your greatest fear?
Oh, I would say right now,
Mm-hmm.
my greatest fear it would be probably to disappoint my family,
Ooh,
my own family, wife and
Yeah.
children. I'm not talking about my. I don't care about my siblings.
No,
I don't care,
forget
I
about
don't care
those
about my
guys.
parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe to fail them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not just disappoint, because I think we always disappoint people. Like, you know, come on,
Yeah.
we're all human, but to ultimately maybe fail them. That would be a fear. That would definitely be a fear.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so interesting because they're the people closest to you, you know, the whom you love so dearly, right? And you want to protect them and you want to help them out. And I think like it's interesting because if we can look at all humans as our human family, you know, and like sometimes feeling like, oh my gosh, did we fail people? I mean, of course you don't want to like beat yourself up too much because you can't do everything for everybody, but at the same time, it's like taking that same principle and like just really caring for people, like genuinely caring for people. It's the way to go, you know?
Yeah.
And then
I do have another fear, by the way. I do have
go
another
ahead.
fear.
Go
I'm
ahead,
just gonna
please.
say,
Yeah.
I really struggle with like, you know, when you're in maybe a building all by yourself and you have to like turn off the lights. And I mean, I've had to like sometimes lock up a church building before because of my responsibilities, my callings, and you can just start to imagine there being a ghost or something, and you're oh man,
Come on.
that gets me afraid. That gets me afraid. You shouldn't be afraid of ghosts, but
you know what? Hey, if they're around, you know, you may want to avoid them if you can, you know.
maybe. Sorry, but that was just another thought that came to mind.
No,
okay,
what's great?
So your other question?
The last question really is, even though you haven't aged a day, imagine that you were younger. Okay, imagine that you were younger and you had to give advice from current Eric to the younger Eric, the one that might be in high school or the one that's going to be that's studying to be an econ professor or whatever he's trying to be. What advice would you give that Eric?
Well, the first thing that popped into my mind,
yes.
So I'll just say that this might not be the right answer. Might not be the right answer. But the first thing that popped in my mind was care less about what other people think of you and what you do.
That's good advice. That's good advice.
Care less about. That's not to say that you shouldn't care about that. Like I do think it's important to care about that, and but care less about that, because what that does sometimes, and I think everyone has experienced this, it makes you be less of who you really are.
Yeah.
Like if you're in school, right? I'm sure there are people who listen to this who can relate to this. If you're in school, sometimes you're afraid to like be who you are because maybe it's not cool. Maybe it's not the clique. It's not the right clique. You want to be a part of a clique or the cool group. That sounds so like dad of me. But not be embarrassed about who you are and be who you are.
There's real power that comes in authenticity, right?
Yes.
And the moment you listen to the voice of others, you know, so it's like, so to the point where it's like you stop being yourself, you stop being authentic, then you lose your own power. You lose why God created you to begin with. And God wants you to be you. I feel. And so,
yeah. And God has given, we have all been blessed with certain talents. And
absolutely.
it's okay if you don't have certain talents that other people have.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, let's go read some parables from Jesus about that, right?
Yeah.
Like it is okay. Everybody has different talents, and magnify those talents. Bring those talents to the world, and let those lights shine. Because that will positively affect the people that need to be positively affected. Yeah. And you'll find joy in that, as opposed to trying to spin your wheels, trying to do or be somebody that you aren't, and that you don't have to be, that you're not meant to be. It's okay. It's okay. Like it's okay. And that certainly is applied to a lot of areas of life. I think it applies to all areas of life.
Dude, you cannot end on a better note than that. That was amazing. That was great. And dude, it's the truth. It's like being yourself and being you is the best version of reality you can never experience. Does that make sense? Like it's because then you can really, you can create your path. You don't have to follow others. You can create your path. And I love that you've been creating your path for so long. You're constantly creating your own path. And if people say no, you just keep going, you keep on going. And that's what makes it so you're able to like do all the good things that you're doing right now. So I don't know, man, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to be on this podcast and to like share all these things with me. It's amazing.
Well, thank you, Charan. I've just thought of one other thought, if it's okay. I'll just share this, because a lot of times this comes up. I've done a lot of stuff that's like in nerd culture. And I think on this, because a lot of times people don't want to show what they're nerdy about. Like that a lot of times comes into play when it comes in this idea of like, be who you are, be genuine. Yeah. And one of my favorite definitions is from my old buddy Zach Levi, who now is Shazam. He plays Shazam, and but he had this thing called Nerd HQ that he would do down in San Diego, and he has the Nerd Machine. And his definition, and I don't know if it was from him or that he'd heard this somewhere, but when you're a nerd, it means that you are passionate about something. You can be a nerd about anything. Yeah. And that helps transform this idea of being a nerd. And I embrace, and that's a part of it. I think that's why I was thinking of like this whole idea of don't worry about what other people think. Embrace your nerdiness. Embrace your inner nerd. If you have a passion for something, embrace that passion and let people see that passion. And maybe it is comic books, maybe it is video games, but maybe it's sports, maybe it's accounting, maybe it's drawing, whatever it is. Embrace your inner nerddom and be that nerd. And I just love that aspect of it. So that was hitting my mind, so I just wanted to share it. But thank you, Charan. This has been a great conversation, and I hope it helps some people who might have listened to it, because
dude, it's helped me, and it's helped me. Great. Yeah, so I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, and you're awesome, and I'm just excited to see where life takes you, because it's already like you've already done some great good in the world. And I'm excited for the rest of the world to like experience the goodness that you have to offer. So thanks so much, man. Appreciate
Likewise.
it. Yep.
Thanks so much for listening to the Lemonade Stand podcast, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you use to be alerted when we release new episodes. We'd also love to hear your feedback in the reviews, and if you or someone you know has an awesome Lemonade Stand story, please reach out to us on social media and let us know. Thanks so much, and have a great day.